So here we are, proudly heralding becoming the first shoe retailer in the UK to become completely and utterly carbon neutral, which is a major, major achievement. And here to tell us more is joint MD of Pavers, Jason Paver. Jason, welcome.
Thank you.
It's a massive achievement for any company. Obviously, we're a sizable company here in the UK. Wow, carbon neutral.
Yeah.
In the middle of everything that's going on right now. How did it come about?
It started before we got to the situation we're in now. So really, it was just a case of both for me personally and we know a lot of the people in the business, being environmentally conscious is important, and that's for me in terms of the future for future generations, and also for a lot of people in the business, they want to be associated with a company that's aware of its environmental impact. And so really that's sort of the first seed, if you like, came from a combination of a sort of personal ambition and making sure everyone in the company was felt that they were part of something that we're achieving something meaningful. And so that's kind of where it started a good 18 months or so ago. We spoke to a number of different sort of providers who could help us through the process, and then we settled on One Carbon World. And since then we have, it was a bit of an extended process with the pandemic, but it's been 18 months of hard work, really.
Now, people can often be a little bit maybe skeptical about companies who are offsetting their carbon and thinking it's a simple process of I write a check and I absolve myself of everything. But this is actually a UN initiative, isn't it?
That's exactly right. So we're both carbon neutral and signed up to the UN Climate Neutral Now process. And what it effectively means is if you commit to one and or both, what you should be doing is not just measuring where you are today and looking to offset all of those emissions. It's also to pledge to work towards reducing every year what those total emissions are on whether it's a per pound basis in terms of turnover or a per employee basis, or there's a number of metrics, but ultimately you're not just saying today we're trying to absorb, sort of remove all the carbon that we're emitting through offsets. It's also saying in future we're also going to work towards reducing how much we're polluting in total.
Now, you're one of several generations of the Paver family, which is an amazing thing. And I know it's very, very to the heart of the Pavers family and their ethos to become carbon neutral. Why was it so important?
I think it goes back to who we believe we are as a business, which is we are absolutely profit driven, but we're profit driven with some kind of conscience. And the conscience in this regard is recognizing that we all populate the same earth and we need to make sure that it's protected for the long term. And so really, I know for me, for my father Stuart, and for all the people in the business who come from sort of Kathy, ultimately my grandma, it was just a feeling of this is an area that we can really help, and we can make a noticeable impact quite quickly. Obviously the foundation, which I'm sure we'll come on to, but the foundation touches on lots of different areas in terms of health, community, and education. And we kind of felt that working towards reducing our environmental impact kind of touched on all three in different ways.
Now, we hear the term carbon credits and it conjures up a number of different pictures in people's minds, I guess. Yeah. What does that actually mean in practical terms? How do we offset our carbon credits and what difference will it make?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's absolutely where a fair amount of the greenwashing that you hear of and people claiming to achieve things comes from, which is ultimately what you're saying is this is how much carbon we put into the atmosphere over the past 12 months, and we need to find a way of eliminating that or offsetting it. In our case, what we've done is almost all the carbon credits we've purchased through this UN-approved scheme are used in a reforestation project in Uruguay. And really what it means is you are investing in creating a change to the environment which will ensure that there is a negative carbon impact to offset obviously the emissions that we have. So I believe, my pronunciation is probably terrible on this, but I believe it's the Guanare project in Uruguay, but it's over 20,000 hectares. It's a huge reforestation project. And really it's a case of our partners, One Carbon World, said, this is a project we believe in, we've audited, we completely understand what it's trying to achieve, and therefore they are verified offset carbon credits.
Which is an amazing thing to do because, I mean, I was watching recently, and I'm sure a lot of you would have seen it as well, Perfect Planet with David Attenborough, and that really does bring home to you the effect of deforestation to our planet and to indeed our well-being as well. So when you think about the vastness of the size of reforestation, it's really significant. It's not like it's just a football pitch here and there.
No, not at all. I think, and I'm sure my numbers are off, but it's approximately, a football pitch is around an acre, I believe. And we're talking, I think it's an order of about 60,000 football pitches. Again, my maths might be a little bit off on that, but it's a huge undertaking. I know One Carbon World, it's a major source of carbon offset credits for them, and it's a project that they manage, they audit on the ground as well. So it very much is a case of making sure that we're doing something proactive in reducing the overall sort of global carbon emissions, rather than other projects which allow you to pay people not to do something. So not to emit, we kind of felt is a little bit more open to potential manipulation, and so it's much more, we were much more comfortable with the idea of investing in a project which was leading to some proactive behaviour.
There's maybe many businesses as well that are, I mean, it's great that actually Pavers is leading, so I'm guessing other organisations and other retailers will follow as well. What advice would you give them in terms of that?
I think it's a fantastic thing to do. And I know feedback from everyone internally has been really positive. I think also, when you look at, there are some retailers out there, to name a few, I know Marks and Spencer's is someone who is also very much at the forefront of concerns, not just environmentally, but that being one of the areas they focus on. I think it's a thing that not only as a business do you get some positive business benefits in terms of hopefully retention of people, hopefully giving people sort of motivation to be part of something that's a lot bigger than just what we're doing, but it also sets the right ethos, which is we don't believe you should just be purely profit maximizing. It's got to be profit maximization within the bounds of having a conscious, and that's both an ethical and a sustainability conscious.
And that leads us nicely, I guess, to the Pavers Foundation. That's quite a massive thing, actually, for the business, isn't it? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so in 2018, it was all the family members involved decided that one of the things we could do on the unfortunate passing of my grandmother, Kathy, who set the business up, was to donate over £2 million to set up the foundation, as well as commit to an annual investment as a percentage of our profits. So every year, a certain percentage of our profits will go into the foundation on top of the initial £2 million plus donation. And what we do is we split that a third. So all the donations, all the grants within the foundation have to be around health, education and community. But really what we then say is a third of those donations is a national charity of the year, which everyone in the company votes for equally. A third of those donations go to everyone in the business is eligible to apply for grants for any kind of organisation that supports one of those or more of those three areas.
So it's an organisation-wide effort.
Absolutely, yeah. And then it's only the final third, and then the final third is donated by the family directly. So from us, it was really a case of we wanted to start to promote that sort of behavioural conscience, which we've talked about, not just pure profit maximisation, and do it in a way which meant that everyone in the business feels like they have a stake, or if they want a stake, they can have a stake.
And give us a couple of examples of how that has helped, what kind of organisations that's helped.
There's a huge variety. I mean, I know one of the national charities of the year from last year was Mind, which is obviously, given everything that's been going on with the pandemic,
very apt right now.
Absolutely. So that was a good very close relationship. I think that was just about £70,000 donation we gave to them. But it can range. It can be anything from, we had a lovely lady just outside Derby who wanted £500 to help support a Christmas gift present for the lonely and the vulnerable. And she just wanted £500 to help, because we obviously provide free shoe boxes to then put some items in, but she just wanted £500 to help contribute to that. And then it ranges to, we helped a relatively local primary school buy two large smart monitors, so that in the classrooms they could education could be helped there. So there is, and that's only sort of touching the surface of, I believe we're very close to having £1 million worth of grants now issued within the space of a couple of years.
Which is a massive amount.
Yeah, and I think it's a huge source of anyone who's involved in the business, and I think it's a huge source of pride for the vast majority of people, because it's showing, look, we work hard and we try and make as much money as we can in terms of profitability, so that A, we can keep employing people, and B, we can actually start to give back in areas such as those we've discussed. So I think there's very few people in the business you speak to about it who don't get a smile on their face when they think about some of the good that's happening.
It's quite a couple of quite proud examples of going into the business turning half a century old, which is quite a significant milestone if you think about everything that's happened, even in the type of business we're in, the shoe business. I mean, that has evolved and changed so much over 5 decades, and here are Pavers striding forward.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, there's an old adage that the third generation of a family business tends to be the one who destroys the business, so that you get clogs to clogs in 3 generations. So I guess it's my responsibility, and alongside the other sort of third generation family members who are involved, or maybe in the future, to try and avoid that being the outcome. But absolutely, 50 years is incredible, and I'm sure, well, I know Kathy would never have envisaged the business surviving this long and being doing the good that it's doing, as well as having the success that it's doing. So clearly COVID's been an outlier, very, very difficult period of 12 months. What's been fantastic is seeing amongst the business people really pulled together, and I think it would have been very easy for that not to be the case. There's been a lot of stress placed on certain areas of the business that probably didn't have that pressure applied. And so being in a position where we're coming out of it feeling actually quite sort of quietly confident, I think is probably the expression I'd use, is really nice. And yes, 50 years after it started, I don't think anyone could have been pictured where we are now. And there's lots more to go as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess you've still got the echo of the guiding voice of Kathy Paver, who set up the business, which is there kind of guiding everyone there still now.
It is. You have Kathy's mentality, you absolutely have Stuart's mentality, who's run the business for the past 30 years. Very much there on a daily basis, and it's incredible to be able to learn in that environment, and that's very much what I'm doing. And a lot of the people I think in the business feel like it's a constant learning exercise, and I'm sure Stuart and I know Kathy also used to feel that way, which is I think when you start to think I'm not learning something, it means the business is not in a good place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, having that guiding light is great. Making sure that you don't feel like you have to keep doing things in exactly the same way as we always have done, though equally, is something to balance. But yes, it's amazing to have that kind of sort of influential female person who started the business and then allowed sort of us as family members to continue to hopefully move it forward.
So the boys need to look after it now?
Well, yeah, exactly. We'll get told off if it goes wrong or if it goes right. So, but yeah, absolutely.
Jason, it's been fascinating. Thank you so much. Yeah. And lots to be incredibly proud of here at Pavers as we go into our 50th years. Make sure that you stick around because there are lots and lots of updates coming out from the business all the time. But that really is amazing news, becoming carbon neutral and entering half a century old. Amazing. Wonder what Pavers will look like in 50 years' time.